Okay, we are testing this. Hopefully this turns out okay. I honestly don't know if I'm covering any of the mics on this. I'm using my AirPods because I don't have one of those little microphones that Bree has, and I didn't feel like getting out the real equipment. AirPod here, AirPod here. They're really excited actually. They were like, we need the first episode to drop. Hi, it's me, Jeanette. This is my solo session, my solo interlude session. And we are gonna talk about insecurities and some common insecurities that I think people my age have, and maybe woman identifying people have, or just anybody in general. It doesn't have to be gender specific. I think first of all, let's start off with insecurities are coming from the media a lot of the time. This is my belief, okay? That a lot of the insecurities that we see today are because the media is telling us that we need to look a certain way or act a certain way or do certain things. And for me, my biggest insecurity is my body, and it always has been. My weight, the way I look, and it's changed throughout the years. When I was in high school, I had somebody comment on my collarbone and the way that my collarbone looked because I was super skinny, and that made me super insecure about my body, is that I was too skinny. And I developed a little quickly, so I had a bigger chest for a really small body, and that made me insecure. That also gave me a lot of attention that I did not need at that age. And then I got into I got into college, and I started to gain the freshman 15, but I gained it over the course of a couple of years, so it was like 5 pounds every year or so. And at one point I really liked the way my body looked, and I said, okay, everything looks a lot more proportionate now, and I'm feeling more confident, and you know, I'm developing into more of an adult look. And then COVID happened, and I was just kind of sitting on my butt for a majority of COVID, and I said, okay, let's try and work on myself again, as I saw that I was gaining weight, and I was like, let's work on this more. So I started working out 2 to 3 times a week, and I felt great, and I thought I looked pretty good. And then I came out of COVID, and I got a full-time job, and I started to live by myself, and I started to eat fast food a lot because it was easy, and I started to gain weight, and I started really not liking the way I looked, and that kind of brings me into present day of there are days where I love my body, and there are days where I absolutely hate my body, and that's okay. And I think that's because society is telling me I need to look a certain way. And fashion and clothing that is coming out right now is being made for a certain body type. So a lot of the things that I buy don't flatter me the way that I would want them to, or the way that I see them in the media, because the models are a certain body type, right? Not only weight, being an insecurity, but other features of myself. I think a lot of us, because we see ourselves in the mirror every day in one point of view, we tend to be hypercritical of ourselves. My teeth, my smile, my eyes, my acne, whatever the case may be. We are also hyper aware of everything that could be adjusted. And even to put myself on camera right now, you know, for not millions or even hundreds or even 20 people to view, but just for me to be vulnerable with an audience that I know is pretty personal to me, is also kind of jarring, right? But it's real, and I do this because I want to be real, and I want to talk about these things. I guess shifting the conversation aside from physical appearance and physical insecurities, there's, emotional insecurities as well. So it's, am I coming across a certain way, right? I think being insecure can also mean obviously not feeling confident in oneself, and that manifests for me in a different way. So I'm not confident or secure about my relationships, friends or romantic. In a friendship, I'm always like, okay, did I cross a boundary, right? Did I say something that could potentially hurt my friendship? Am I sure that these people are still enjoying being my friend? Do they still want me around? If I don't hear from somebody for a couple months, should I even reach out again? Am I still a good person? Am I still a good friend that they want to have around? And that plays into how I engage with people on a daily basis. Wanting to make sure that I am myself, but that I am still friendly, that I am still approachable, that I am still likable. And I know I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right? And that's okay. And I have to accept that some people are just not going to vibe with me, just like I don't vibe with other people. And that also manifests into romantic relationships, right? Is this person going to like me? For me, first date is let me put my best foot forward. Dates 7 and 8 or whatever, 5 months into dating a person, you're like, okay, do they still like me? I don't want to say I get insecure in a relationship, because I do have some sense of security when I am in a relationship romantically. But there's also that moment of they could leave at any time. No one's requiring them to stay, right? And I think those lingering thoughts trigger's a bad word. Those lingering thoughts tend to create insecure feelings, right? And then it's all kind of a full circle loop of they didn't talk to me today, or they didn't comment on my hair or my nails, or that I don't know, changed my outfit. And then it's, oh my God, do they think that my body is gross? Do they think I am overweight, Or I tend to measure myself against the person that I'm dating at that time and say, oh, well, he's more fit than I am, I'm not going to be appealing to them. Or it's, hey, my friend laughed at somebody else's joke but didn't laugh when I made the joke, so they must not like me anymore, they must not think I'm funny. And it's all these little things that I think are so common and so small in everyone's day-to-day life that you tend to forget to let go and just kind of be in the moment. I notice I do it a lot in the middle of a conversation that I'll be having, or in the middle of a conversation that a group of people will be having, is that I say something and nobody really laughs or nobody really acknowledges, but then somebody else will say something very similar and everybody will acknowledge that. So then I'm sitting there for the rest of the conversation like, oh, was my approach wrong? Did I not engage with them correctly? And that also has to go back to like social media and someone's attention span and all that. For the most part, everybody wants to put their best foot forward, the best version of themselves forward every single day. And when something just feels off, when you wake up and you're bloated, because of your period, or you're breaking out because of stress or acne or bad eating habits or whatever, or you get to work and that joke didn't hit, or that meeting was, not what you were expecting the outcome to be. we tend to beat ourselves up, and those are the moments that we get into our own heads. And I think we forget to stop at any given point in time and be like, hey, you woke up and you did the best for you today. You woke up, you brushed your teeth, you took a shower, you got dressed. You did one thing off of your checklist today. You made it to work. That's an accomplishment. You had breakfast. You had your cup of coffee in the morning. That's an accomplishment. So many times do I have to tell myself, I just woke up and was able to put a smile on my face and make it through today. And today, that was good enough for me. Tomorrow we can try again to do more. And a lot of the time it's simple as that. You know, a lot of the time, and especially with the physical insecurities, I have to remind myself that I woke up today. My body was still providing me with oxygen and blood flow, and I don't take medication, and I'm healthy. And that's all my body can give me right now. And that is okay. So if I'm a little bloated, maybe I just need to eat differently today. Or I hear this all the time, you know, if you are insecure about your body, about, you know, the fat that you have, about the toned shape of your muscles or whatever, then do something about it, right? Go to the gym. Start running, start walking, eat better. And it sounds so easy until everything else in life is coming at you for the day, and the last thing you want to do is go throw on some workout clothes and go do another thing. And for some people, that is their outlet, and that is amazing, right? For me, it's not my outlet for anything. It's a chore that I have to do. But if I can look back and say, hey, I worked out twice this week, that was all I could give, and that should be enough for me to be happy with myself for the week. We'll try again next week. If I wake up and I'm like, you know what? Or if I go through my work week and I'm like, you know what? I accomplished 6 things off of my checklist for the week. That is good enough for me. We are going to try again next week. Or if I'm in a relationship and I'm like, you know what? It's been a hard week for us, but I reminded them that I love them, and I did something nice for them this week, and you know, every day I still worked hard to show that I showed up for this relationship and that I cared, and I actually made it, and I actually communicated to my partner, like, hey, this was all I could give to you this week, then it's good enough for me. And I need to do that a lot more. I need to reflect a lot more than what I have been recently. I find it hard to talk about myself, and also not having a co-host next to me is kind of hard to not bounce ideas off of each other. I'm sure if she was here, she'd say things of like, you're great, you're beautiful, don't feel bad about yourself, don't be insecure about yourself, yada yada yada. Ditto goes back to her. So when Bree watches this, ditto goes back to you, because I know that you share some of these insecurities for your own reasons, and you are loved and beautiful and amazing, just as you would tell me. So, little note. And to the people that are watching, give yourself some grace, because life is hard, and the world is kind of in a mess right now. And when everything so external from us is so messy, I think it makes it so hard to ground yourself, and so more insecurities tend to arise, because it's just one shitty thing on top of another to literally compile a mountain of just shitty things. And if you can start picking away at that, just one thing at a time. And I should be taking my own advice for this too. I try my best. Can't always say that I do it, but I try my best. If we could pick out one shitty thing at a time, tackle it, own it, be a boss at it, excel in it, then I think that we're doing okay. To control what we can control, what we know that we can actually change the outcome to, I think that's a better start than nothing at all. I don't have any profound advice for anybody. I'm just a 25-year-old girl still working through her own insecurities. I hope that something resonated with you, if anything, but I hope something resonated with you, because this is kind of just my ramblings of what I feel I could do. Almost kind of a love letter, not a love letter, but almost like a letter to myself. Very similar to writing a letter to myself of love yourself, take care of yourself, do better on the days that you can give more to yourself. And on the days that you can't, be kind, because we are so mean to ourselves. And I don't want to do that anymore. We tend to be really mean to ourselves in general. Short story here. I remember when I was in high school, I think. I must have been like 14 or 15. So about a decade ago now. That I sat in front of the mirror that I have in my room. And I was feeling so horrible that I started calling myself horrible names. And I started basically bullying myself in the mirror to the point where I was crying. And then I started to cry more because I was crying in the first place. I started bullying myself for crying. And I look back on that moment because I remember it so vividly. And I always wish that I could have been nicer to myself then. And I still have moments where I look in the mirror and I get sad, but I don't bully myself for it anymore. I remind myself that my mind and my body can only do so much for me at any given time, and I should be grateful for the moments I do have and the positivity and the support systems that I do have around me, and that I should have been kinder to myself. And it's been a work in progress, clearly. It's been a decade since that happened to me, and I want to do better, and I am still doing better. And I hope that you can take any of this with you. I'm not saying go into the mirror and tell yourself 10 nice things every day, but if you can look in the mirror, or look at a younger picture of yourself, or just remember a version of you that was not so kind to themselves, and say, let's do better starting today. And say, would that 15-year-old, 8-year-old be proud of the person that you are today? Then I think you're on the right path. And I think 15-year-old me would be very proud of what I accomplished now, and how I haven't necessarily worked through all of my insecurities, but how I have evolved to accept my insecurities and reshape them into things that are not crippling my mental health or my physical health every day. Hopefully you got something out of this. These were just kind of some thoughts that I had been having over the past couple of days, and so I wanted to film something about insecurities. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you all for being patient with us as we take this little break, as you get to learn a little bit about myself and about Brie on a more individual level. Let us know if you like these, then we can maybe do a couple more of them in the in-betweens. Like, follow us on Spotify and on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Spotify and YouTube. Share this out in the world if you would like to. I've had lots of friends come up to me and say, hey, I watched your latest episode. And I always get a little shy because for the most part, I feel like Brie and I are really just doing this as like a vlog for each other to look back on. But to know that people are actually watching and supporting is amazing. So thank you, everybody. And we will see you soon for episode 4. Bye now.